We are going to talk today about Facebook events, about co-hosts and about sharing the events. When you make someone a co-host, how do you make them a co-host? Also about how do you share to a page, into a group, and some other fun event stuff. So I'm going to start with the question for my client, as I always like to start. He said, "Hi there, I'm creating the next Facebook event. Question. I know before I asked you how to have someone be a co-host and you showed me an alternative way. But since I'm doing the event and notice this option, see attached picture, is this a better way? Are there any ways to avoid having a co-host? It seems like you told me something like that." Okay, there's more to it, but let's just start with that right now. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create an event. So I'm going to come here and say event. Now there's online events and in person. No matter if you're doing this on Facebook or not, I would do in person if it's in person, and I would do online if it's online. So his is an online. The class, I found it really pushes you to schedule this Facebook Live and do interactive stuff, which if you're going to do this fully on Facebook and that's where you're hosting the event, then do that. Most of my clients aren't that way. We're doing the event through their own platform or Zoom or something, so we want to just pick the general one. So on here, we're going to do event. And what's really cool is you can actually say Zoom. So if you have a certain place you're hosting it, you can actually put that kind of in there and test. And then we're going to say, this is social issues. So I'm going to push next. So what's really funny is I'm doing this on my consulting page, and things pop on there funky all the time. So if you want to see some funky stuff I'm testing out and showing clients, go and like my Rachel Boone Consulting on Facebook, and you'll see some fun stuff happen there. Okay, so is this have a Facebook Live? No, it does not. If you're going to do this with Facebook Live, you can do that. External link. So what I want you to do is watch this page, right? This is a preview of it right here. If I click external link, a button pops up. So I like that. I like this join the event hot button. So I usually pick that one. You can also pick other, but that button goes away and then you have to put in details. So I'm just going to say external link, send it straight to your registration page, straight to your sales page, something like that. You don't want to send it to your main website, but I'm just doing this as an example, if I can type. But you do want to have that hot button be your button to go to the place that they will register. So next. So here is a photo. So it will automatically pull up whatever profile photo you have on your page. I do suggest you have a special photo that you upload and you just delete this and then upload a new cover photo. But don't have that stop you from posting the event. You can change that later. So just go ahead and do your event, especially if it's in a time crunch. So that way it's up there. Don't say, well, I need to wait to have the perfect cover photo. Just sometimes you just got to go. And then you can do this country restriction. Now the thing with this is that you can't fix it once it's published. So this is one thing that you want to do now. You can say only want certain countries. So if you only want to say the United States, you can also upload it CSV. So if you have a list of them, which is really nice, so you don't have to select all of them each time, you can also exclude countries. I wouldn't worry about this unless you're getting a lot of spam and all that kind of thing. I would just keep it. So event settings. Okay, so this is what he was talking about, is this co-host. Now the thing with co-host is co-host can edit event details. So you want to be really careful with that. I would not give anyone access to my event that wasn't a true co-host. A true co-host is someone who's doing the event with you. Because if not, then they can edit the event. And even if they don't mean to mess something up, I just don't want it. So I like to keep church and state separate. I like having control over my stuff. So you might want to consider not adding friends or even people who are in a networking group with you or anything like that as a co-host. Now, when you add a co-host, it does show up on their page as an event. So that is something to consider. If you want to show up, like if you have a page that you are one of the admins for and it's multiple people and you want it to show up as an event for that page, then you can try doing a co-host. Now I will tell you is I tried that before I did this video to see how it would happen, and it said that it sent me a request. I never got it or saw where it went. But from what I know is what will happen is that page will get a request for this event to be added to their page. And then when they go to events on that page, it should show up there. So for this client, that might be something to consider because he has a page that is multiple people targeting the same industry. So then they might want the event on that page. But it's just something to set up because it says on there that you can add pages and friends. Now I will tell you, Facebook changes things all the time. And they also will give some people some things to start testing out and beta it before they run out to everyone. So just this video, I was trying to do this, was done in spring of 22. So if it's been a while, things might have changed by then. Show guest list. I would show the guest list if it's an event that friends would want to go together because they're like, oh, all these friends are going, then I'll go. So that's when I would show it. This client is on the counseling kind of side of things, and so it's a little bit more private. I wouldn't show the guest list. So when you get to something that's really personal, one, people might not want others to know that they're going, or two, that you don't want to have someone maybe that they're not sure they want to go with. And they, because I know we all have that looking good, looking bad. So sometimes people might not go because they think someone, you don't want to put any of that in their space because it really doesn't matter. So I would, for them, turn off the show guest list. Only admins can post to the event, means that only admins can post in the event thing. I always take that off and let anyone post to the event because I don't really care. It lets people comment, let people say I'm excited or cool or whatever it is. Admins will be anything you put up here in the co-host kind of space. Post must be approved by host or co-host, which means that you can say that anyone can post, but you wanted to approve it. I don't worry about it, but if you start getting anything that's not nice or jungling it up, then you can put that option there. Let people ask you questions about the event in Messenger. I like this one because you want people to ask you any questions they have that is keeping them from going to the event. The only time not to is if you're never on Messenger or you won't check it. Then that's just setting up for not a good customer service experience. But normally I say yes. So we're going to save it. And then we're going to publish it. And all the people on my Facebook page are going to be like, there's Rachel going again, doing some odd stuff and posting test events. But it's really fun actually being able to follow me on my Facebook page. I highly recommend it. On my Rachel Boone Consulting page because I do fun things like this and some weird things pop up. Okay. So there's another way that people can share your events or they can promote you. And this can be anyone that's in your friend list or a page or a group or whatever. So first I'm going to do your invites. So if I go and I've created my event and I want to invite people, I can go through and it's going to do my suggested. So this is going to pull up my suggested people I should invite. Now you might be like, well, why don't you invite everyone? Well, because Facebook only lets you do 500 invites. That's not a lot. I have 5,000 friends. So 500 out of 5,000, not a lot. So what I usually suggest is people go back to the events that they posted. So that's the really cool thing is that you can look at the events you hosted in the past. And I would invite those people first, usually in most instances, because those are people who have been before. They can refer you. They can go again if it's something to go again to. Or you can invite people from events that you've attended. You can invite people from a certain group. So let's say you're part of a group and you want to invite everyone in that group. You could do that as well. So those are good places to start. You can also create these suggested lists. And these are lists that you set up and you put people in. So that's another great way. If you're interested in how to set up those lists and actually like pre-select your 500 that you know you're going to invite or anything like that, let me know and I'm happy to go do a video on that. So yeah, so you select your people and then you can say send invites, which you're not going to do because they're going to think I'm even more wacky than I am. So there you go. You can go in here and click this button and you can share to a page and you can share to a group. So what both of these do is that it will share it as a post. So it will show up and you can type whatever you want in that post. Now then you can tag people as well about that event or hey, here the event is and that kind of thing. So I'm going to click this share to an event. This is sharing to another event. just so you know what this was. So if you have another event you've done and you want to share them, you can do that. But I mostly, honestly, would just stay between the sharing to a page or sharing to a group. And like I said, I'll just do one so you can see it. So if we share to a group, let's share to my Cub Scouts. I'm not going to post it. But see, it gives it, and then you can actually type whatever you want in there. So there you go. That's the way that you can easily kind of set up these events and pick who shares. Now, I will tell you this is that any event that you set up, as long as you give the option, anyone can come in here and click this button and they can, click the invite button and they can share with their friends. So the best thing you can do is if you're part of a group that wants to help promote an event or for your friends or family is to ask them to go in and invite 500 people. Ask them to go in and click some or invite some people to your event. Then those people get just a notification say they got invited by the other person. So they don't have to be a host of an event to invite people to an event as long as you have that as an option, which we do, to let people invite to the event. So I think that covers that question. Let's see what else he had to say to me. Also, I forgot what settings were appropriate, which I just went through, how to set it up. He said, example, show guest lists, administrators compose, blah, 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 which we did all those. Also, is the process always to invite people after the event is created? No. It depends on how far out you did the event. So if you did the event and it's the next one coming up or it's quickly, yes, you want to go ahead and start sharing it everywhere. Now this client, and with most of my clients, we schedule events out for a quarter or a year. So if you're going ahead and putting in those events in the future, then you don't want to just sit down. I believe in batch processing, which means when you batch something, you do a whole bunch of the same activity at once. It actually speeds up the process. So I suggest him go in and put in all the next quarter events. I wouldn't at the same time invite him to all. I would spread out the invites. So I would invite to the one coming up soonest and then wait a little bit and do the next one. How much you wait depends on how long is between the events. If you have a long time, you can wait a little longer. If you have a shorter time, then you got to do it quicker. So that is just relative. You just don't want to bombard all the same people with it. Now, I do suggest if your events are kind of the same, so you have one class, but you're doing it 3 times and giving options, then I would end the event on Facebook, say, here's the next ones and give the dates and the links to sign up for those events. So if I open an event, I can actually go in and say, okay, I can't make that day, but I can make this day, and it can automatically set up. So one of the reasons you want to set your events out and let people know is for that option. People like options. So if you tell someone, come this day, this time, it's a yes or no. So you have a 50-50 chance. But if you tell people, here's option 1, 2, 3, which one works best for you? What I have found is that people will move around their schedule a tiny bit more to make one of those 3 work. Because it's not a black and white yes or no. They have options. So I do suggest giving people a few pathways they can go, as long as it's not just like a one time. I'm not going to do 3 birthday parties. Don't tempt me. Normally things like that, you only do like one. When my company turned 10 years old, we did one big party. I'm not going to do that 3 times. But if you're doing a class or something, it makes sense. I would do that, and I would kind of promote it that you're that way to give people options. Okay, let's go back to this message. Lastly, on the special event page, I realized of all the people I invited, the indie analytics where nobody was interested, expressed interest, and no registrants. So no one expressed interest. I would have to really dig what that means with him, but I know one of the things suggested with him was when people clicked interest to reach out and to say hi and see if they have any questions or anything like that kind of thing. So I have a feeling he did that and that none of those people wanted to, which means that most of those people probably were just people who really supported him. They thought it was an interesting event, which was a great people to invite to the next one. So which means you got awareness. And on Facebook, I really think it's more of a flyer platform where it's like, hey, we're posting up our digital social media flyer, we're doing this event, we're inviting a few people, tell me if you're interested. I've had such a hard time. I mean, even going back 10 years ago, getting Facebook RSVPs to be correct. I just don't think they are, which is why I like outside platforms. So usually to me, you just think of it as a flyer that people might be interested, but you really want your analytics and your numbers on your event. Now we can tell, who's coming from this page to a specific page on your website. There's certain analytics we can put up. There's stuff we can do to track that. I just look at when you put an event on Facebook, it just is that digital flyer for people to easily share and hand around and say, here's something. They're going to your website, they're going to your registration page and registering there. So them actually registering through the site is not important. A lot of people could look at the site, click the link, go and register it, and never click that button that says, I'm interested or I'm going. So I wouldn't stress it, especially for this client. They only posted that event right before and they just trying to get the hang of this. So I wouldn't stress it that much. I would look more at the engagement. So did people actually see it? Yes. Were those people who would not have known about the event otherwise? That you had to ask him, look at those numbers, but probably I would almost guarantee that people saw that event that would not have known about that event otherwise, which is what a flyer does, which that's its only job. So I wouldn't stress it out too much. And it does really matter on what your goals are and then be able to measure to those goals. So you really need to think about that for yourself. So yeah, that was it. He said, it's kind of discouraging. What should I interpret from this? You don't interpret anything. Don't make anything a humongous deal. We want to look at the analytics. And the analytics are, did people register? How did they get there? Was this, like I said, is this something that's giving you awareness? Is this something that's meant to convert? There's different tools we use for different things. And this one, Facebook events, I just feel is just an awareness tool. And if you can get people to go and convert, that's the that's the end goal. But what he is right now, just getting people to see it and know about it is bigger than what he was doing before. So let's baby step it. And there you go. I probably went, I don't even know how. I went way hella over. Sorry. I try to keep these at 10 minutes. But there's so much to cover. So if you have any more questions, let me know. Here to help.